Good morning everyone and welcome to my craft room. My name's Julianne Richards and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in southern Tasmania. This is the tutorial video for my December, what I'd normally call my fun fold class, but I'm actually calling this my one sheet wonder class. So if you're a VIP club member, this is your class for December. Anyway, we'll cut down any confusion that way. It's a nice little class. I'm actually using the designer series paper from the Fitted Florets suite. Now, if you really love this paper, please jump in because it will no longer be available after about the 4th of January. So it was an exclusive limited edition paper. So it is really, really sweet. But as I showed in a recent video, you can make these 3 cards with basically any paper. And if you just match it with some designs, sort of matching cardstock, you can sort of make the same 3 cards with any 6x6 piece of designer series paper. This is one I made recently with a really pretty paper placemat. So anyway, so this is with the, as I say, the Fitted Florets designer series paper. So that's our 3 cards. The first thing you need to do is, regardless of which card you're going to make first, you need to cut your sheet. Okay, and it's a lovely simple cut. I'll just turn my trimmer the right way. As mentioned in the notes, there's 2, you might get one of 2 patterns of paper. You may get this one, which is the original, but just as pretty is this one. So some of you will have this one and some of you will have that one. It's just because I didn't want to sort of waste extra sheets by only using a certain amount out of each pack. You guys know me. Okay, so you've got your 6x6 piece of designer series paper. Just looking at the back is quite pretty. If you prefer, you might get away with the cards with the back, using the balmy blue from the back. But anyway, I'm going to use the flowers. Apologies for this piece, this light here. Hopefully it's not too distracting. The craft room is dark at the moment, but sometimes the sun comes out from its cloud and it forms that little sunbeam. I'm not going to argue because we haven't seen the sun for such a long time down here in Hobart. Okay, so you've got your 6x6 piece of paper. You have to just cut it. Cut it first of all just straight down the middle at 3 inches. So straight down the middle, and you get 2 3x6s. Okay, then you take one of those and you cut 2-inch strips from the top. So 1 and 2. So there you are. And this leaves you with a 3x4. So your 3x4, you basically line it up with your trimmer and cut it diagonally. So you get 2 right angle triangles like that. So that's the cutting for 1/2. 2 1-inch strips and then diagonally in half. The other 6-inch strip, you take another inch off the top. So you end up with a total of 3 1-inch strips. And this one here, you need to cut it to 4.5 inches. So you're cutting off a little 1/2-inch strip, which doesn't actually have any use, but I'm sure we can find a use for it somewhere. And this one, you leave whole. Okay, so you're going to use that as a whole piece. So that's fairly simple. And I will pop the template onto, if you're doing that as a class, I'll pop the template through to you at the same time as I do as I send these links. So as I mentioned, you've got 3 1-inch strips. Sorry, my computer is giving me a notice that it wants to do an update, and that would be really bad right now. So I'm just going to try and nick a step away from that. Cancel that. I don't want that. Go away. Anyway, you get 3 1-inch strips, a 4.5 by 3 piece, and two triangles. That's going to cause me traumas, that thing, so I'm going to just have to get it away. Anyway, okay, and this tiny little bit left over, which I'm sure we'll find something to do with. So that's what you've got. You've got card 1, 2, and 3 with the pieces. Okay, so let's move away from that little light. Okay, so I have all my cards cut in the one envelope, in the one kit. So this may well be a disaster. For one of our cards, you should have some little just scraps of designer series paper. You need to fussy cut one flower from that. So just wherever you've got some, I think I gave everybody just enough with one flower, just fussy cut that one flower out. It doesn't matter too much, and you don't need to keep all the fussy bits. You can see here, this is the piece that I've cut this flower out of, and I actually didn't bother with those blue bits, and I didn't bother with those yellow flowers and buds as well. So I've just taken sort of basically the flower part with a couple of leaves. That's what I'm going to use on my card. So don't fret too much about it being a terrible lot of fussy cutting. Okay, so let's choose what card we're going to do first. Let's do the one with the big piece first, and we can put those aside. So we'll use our 3" by what is it? 3" by 4.5. So for this one, you're going to need one of your card bases. So they should all be cut and scored. Normal size card base, 5.5 by 4 1/8 as a folded card. And both of the larger cards in this one are landscape cards, so it's going to be that way. Okay, so I'll get that in front of me so I know which bits I need. You'll also need a piece of what is it, polished pink cardstock. So you're looking for the one that sort of matches the big piece. So if this is 4.5 by 3, then the piece of, excuse me, bit of a cough. Then the piece of cardstock will be 3 1/8 by 4 5/8, so something like that. So there you are. So that's going to fit on there like that. Now, as I mentioned, if you like the colour on the other side, you might be able to flip it over, and you'd have sort of a blue one. It might cause issues because then we're going to bring in a little blue banner there. So it probably not best to turn it over for this particular card. Okay, as I mentioned, there is a little blue banner, which I've got to find here somewhere. You will also have some embellishments, obviously. A oval shape. Now this is the inside from it's the inside from the embossed frame from the fitted or framed florets die set, and you've got a piece of ribbon as well. So the piece of ribbon should be long enough to get a nice size bow out of it. And this is really annoying me. Go away. Oh gosh. Anyway, all good. I can't actually see when I'm recording. That's the problem with this pop-up that's come up onto my computer. Okay, so I think that's all the bits we need. Yeah, we'll go with this. Right, so you've only got one banner, as you can see, and you can see on the original card that it's popping out either side. So it's obviously not going to pop out either side as it is. So what you need to do is cut that little one in half. So just cut the banner in half, and what we'll do is we'll carefully, sneakily place it behind the little oval so that it looks like it's a lot longer. What we might do first of all, though, is stamp our sentiment. So I'm going to use all sentiments out of the framed Florets stamp set. Now, the stamp set and the dies do continue into the next mini catalogue. So if you love those, that's fine. You don't have to rush too much to pick them up. It's the paper and the bling that actually will retire on the 4th of January. Okay, so I want a nice little sentiment. What am I going to use? Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Oh, thank you with all my heart. We'll use that one. Now, the main pink in this card is obviously polished pink, but I'm going to go a little bit darker for my sentiments because I like my sentiments to stick out a bit more. So I'm using Melon Mambo, which is actually just a dark, in my view, a dark version of polished pink. I'll pop that just into the centre of my oval. There we are. So it's a nice sort of stronger colour. The polished pink would be perfectly fine, but actually I think I've used polished pink on that one. You can see It's just a lighter version of the Melon Mumbo. Okay, so let's bring in our little banner that we've chopped in half. Now, very handy here to use your grid paper, although ovals are I find ovals tricky to get straight because they're curvy all over. But anyway, I'm going to try and align that up with my grid paper. So I'm in even there, and then I can count where the center of the grid paper is and bring this little guy in. So he's coming in and out of the center of the oval. So you don't want it to go too far because you're actually trying just to keep it that length of the designer series paper. So I'm just doing that there, and I just want to make sure it's straight. Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to add some glue to the end of that bit. And you want the banner to stick out probably 1/2 inch from its shortest, like that little in, what would we call it? The bit where it pokes in, the little inward arrow is about 1/2 inch from the edge of your oval. Maybe a bit more, 3/4 inch, something like that. About 1 centimetre. There we are. So that's one side. And I'm using my grid paper to make sure that that is straight as it comes out of that side. I'm going to do the same with the other one. If you have a good eye, obviously you won't need to use the grid paper trick. Here we are. So straight and even. There we are. Okay, so that's our little sentiment box there. Okay. Right, so we can just pop this little card together now. So obviously that designer series paper goes onto our polished pink layer. And then together they pop onto the centre of our card. Remember I said this is a landscape card, so it goes long ways, or lengthways that way. So it's going to go on there like that. You'll find once you've got the pieces cut and the one sheet cut, these cards pop together pretty quickly. So there, we've got that one on there. I just felt that move as I moved my hand away, but that's okay. There we are. Okay, then we'll bring in our little sentiment box and banners. And that's just going to sit just in the centre there. There we are. Lovely. Okay, all we really do now is add our bow. No, that's not, is that the piece long enough for the bow? Yeah. So just tie a wee bow with your, now this is the polished pink ribbon from the annual catalogue, so it's not going anywhere for a wee while. So grab that one if you like it. Just love the sort of silkiness of it. It's a lovely feeling bow. There we are. I'll trim a wee bit off. And I'm just going to pop the little bow with a glue dot onto that little oval there. There we are. And finally, a bit of bling. So you should have, some of you will find your bling in with your 6x6 piece of designer series paper. I just found it easier to save some energy and pop all 9 bling that you needed in with your 6x6 sheet. The rest of you will find them each individual 3 in your individual packs as usual. But anyway, 3 little silver pearls on the front of that, and that card is done. So it's different. The different designer series paper give them a different feel. This one's really quite busy with the paper. This one's not quite so busy, but I like them both just as much. I think they're both very, very pretty. The paper is the real star of the show. You can't really go wrong. Okay, so that's card number 1. Nice and simple and easy. As I say, once you cut the designer series paper, you're pretty much underway. The second one we'll do is this other landscape card. I'll grab my kit. So for this one, you've got another larger card base. Here, another 5.5 by 4 1/8. I'll just pull that down. Again, another landscape card, so it's going to sit this way. You will also have a piece of polished pink which has been embossed. This is with the splatters and stripes design embossing folder. Really, really handy for those sorts of cards that you want just a sort of a not too obtrusive background. You've got a square, well, practically a square of balmy blue, and you've got a die cut circle and a slightly shorter piece, a 7-inch piece of ribbon. Okay, so you've got your polished pink ribbon again. Okay, so not really much more to do with this one. As I said, you've got this one uses your 3 little 1-inch strips. So if you grab the triangle or the rectangle of balmy blue, your strips will fit on there like that. Okay, make sure you get the rectangle so that it's landscape, so it's the longer side that way and it's shorter that way. You'll know if you get it wrong, because if you have it that way, you'll find your strips don't fit nicely. They're too squished sideways and there's too much gap at the top, so that you definitely have to have your piece of cardstock landscape as well. Okay, so I'm going to just add the 3 little strips as we mentioned there onto the cardstock. Now, to stick with my pattern, that's actually the center one, so I'll come back to that one just because I want to keep my pattern right. So this one, I think. Yeah, this one goes first on the left-hand side. Don't worry too much. If you're not too worried about getting your pattern correct, then don't traumatize too much about that. And it will be covered with a circle anyway, so really it's not too much of a concern. But just make sure your gaps, your borders are the same top, bottom and left-hand side, and then your pieces will fit pretty well. So I'll do this one. It's going to be on the right-hand side. Just so. And then this one should be nicely fit just nice in the center. There you are. Okay, here we are. So that's the little tri-panel of paper there. Okay, just going to pop this together now. So grab your embossed strip, add some glue. It's exactly the same length as your card base, so it should line up exactly left and right. If it doesn't, just give it a wee trim. It should line up pretty much exactly. Again, you can use your grid paper if you want to make sure it lines up exactly straight. If if you use grid paper in the craft room. Don't know how I'd live without it. So roughly top and bottom the same, roughly along the centre. Then we're going to bring in our little panel of designer series paper that we've just made. I'm going to pop that onto the top of the embossed panel. That's so. Okay, coming together nicely. Now our little circle, this is where we're going to stamp our sentiment. I'm going to use for a special person on a special day. This is again from the framed Florets stamp set. And I'm also going to stick to my, somebody just went out the front door. I'm going to use the Melon Mambo colour. There we go. Now this one is going to pop on dimensionals, so grab yourself some dimensionals. I might open a new pack. Now we're going to pop the ribbon, we're going to trap the ribbon that you've been given behind this little circle. So you probably need to use a few more dimensionals than you probably normally would, only because you need to trap the ribbon and stick to the card, obviously. So, you know, I'm not a big one for excessive dimensional use, but this time I might make an exception. But at the end of the video, I have already designed our fun fold class for January. So at the end of the video, I'll give you a sneak peek of that. Okay, so with your 7-inch piece of ribbon, fold it over, line up the two ends there. So fold it over, like halve it. Maybe cross them over would be good. And pop that. So that's the way my sentiment's going to sit. So I want the ribbon to go from right hand top corner to bottom left corner, a bit like that. Okay, get away from that little sunbeam. So it's you can see it's trapped behind by the dimensionals, but there's still enough dimensional showing that when we pop it onto our card, it's going to hopefully stick properly. Okay, so let's pop it in there, center, straight. There we are. Okay, that's that. Not much else to do with this one, a bit of bling. This time I'm going to use some of the green bling out of the pearls. You've probably got a combination. I know I used silver for some and green for others, but I like the green with these because it's sort of a bluey green, so it doesn't jar too much with the balmy blue. And 3. Okay, there we are. So that's card number 2. Nice. Really like these. And as I say, I mean, we've got 2 cards done plus cut all that plus a fair bit of talking in 20 minutes. So that's really a nice quick card process. Okay, so we're going to do our last one. Now this is a little note size card. I think it just goes really well with the size of those triangles. So I tried it with a larger card, but the gap between the 2 triangles was way too big. So I thought this is perfect for a little note-sized card. So going back into your kit, you will have the oval from the fitted florets, framed florets dies. You will have a piece of a larger rectangle of balmy blue, and we're going to cut that one in half. Obviously, you've got your card base, and you also need the for the fussy cut flowers that you would have already done, or stop the video and do them. Okay, so we'll fold our card base as usual. Now this is the only card in the class that is a portrait card, so it's going to sit up and down that way. Okay, so let's get started. The piece of balmy blue, you need to grab your trimmer back. And as we did with the designer series paper, you're going to line it up at its corners and cut it diagonally. So you end up with 2 right angled triangles. Now, hopefully, definitely, those pieces of designer series paper that you've cut will fit into those triangles. And that's basically what we're going to do now. Don't know how this would go on the other side. No, too much blue. I think we need to stick with this one. Okay, so we'll grab some glue. Just trying to work out the best way. I think this one goes there. Yep. Grab some glue. And pop those pieces together. One and 2. Okay, so you've got 2 layered triangles. So bring in our card, and the 2 triangles are going to sit on straight on with glue onto your card, like so. So you're going to have a wee bit of white showing out around the edges and a wee bit of white showing through the centre of it as well. So we might do that straight away, only glue, no dimensionals or anything as yet. Okay, that one there. And that one there. Okay. Right. Okay. Oh, I forgot to get the sentiment box out. Okay, you will have a sentiment box as well. Okay, so using our little oval, I'm going to pop some dimensionals on that. So you need the little mini dimensionals, or to cut some of the big ones up in half or something to get them. But we're going to pop some dimensionals around the edge of our frame. I'm running out of minis. Keep forgetting to order them. I've got them on the list for next time, so we should be okay. After saying for years and years that I find them fiddly and annoying, I'm actually using them a fair bit these days. Obviously, because that's why I've run out. Anyway, all good. We'll just get the covers off those. You can probably tell, I don't know if you can tell from the detail here, this frame that I've kept for myself didn't die cut properly. It's got a flat bottom. But I'm just going to cover that with my flowers and no one will tell. That's okay. Just pop that down the bottom there. So with our dimensionals all ready to go, try and pop our oval in the centre, like so. You can see it's flat little bottom there, but that's okay. So we're popping that onto our little card. This is so cute, this one. I'm going to bring in my die cut flower. Perfect. Just covers over that little bottom, flat bottom quite well. And that little flower is going to sit sort of on the frame a bit, and sort of I'm going to prop up each side with some dimensionals. So I'm going to just pop some glue on the frame itself and position my flower. Okay, and obviously it's a little bit unsupported on the top and the bottom, so we'll bring in some dimensionals, take their covers off, and I will position them on either side, inside and outside. If you're one of those visual thinking people, you could probably position your dimensionals before you get to this part, but I'm not one of those people, so I need to sort of come in afterwards. I'll put in here as well. Okay, so that's our little flower, sort of balancing but with a bit of support on that frame. Last thing to do, and I forgot to get this out, or second last thing to do, you should have some little banners. Hopefully I've got them for myself. These are from the Stylish Shapes banner, Stylish Shapes die set, one of my favourites. And I'm going to use just a nice little celebrate there on that little banner. One of my favourite stamps from this set because it fits any occasion. Again, using my Melon Mambo. And the frame is going to just pop slightly on our flowers, slightly on our frame, heading from the centre to the right of the card. And I'm just going to pop glue because it's actually going to rest on what's already there. You may feel you want to reinforce it with a, which I probably will, reinforce it with a dimensional, which I will because it doesn't want to stick there. Come on. Yeah, I'll grab a dimension. I might grab an end bit. Cut it to the right size if it would stop sticking to my finger. And again, using my little ceramic tool from my mum. You just want to stick to my finger and nowhere else. I might have to use my finger because it's just attached itself. Why aren't you sticking? I'm going to pop that there. Okay, there we are. It's decided to stick now. There we are. So that's our sentiment there. Just celebrate. Final thing is some bling. I'm going to go back to my silver ones, which you should have in your pack, or as I say, all 9 that you need in with your, you've already found them in your pack with your designer series paper. Where'd that one go? There. And we'll just pop those around. There we are. Okay, so that's card number 3. So the last one from our class this time. Hopefully you like that one as well. I don't know how I got so out of line there. So there's our last card. So that's with the paper that some of you've got, and that's with the paper that others of you got. Actually, I think I prefer this one this time because it's actually not so fussy. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so that's the 3 cards from this class. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. So we've got the 3-panel one there, the one with the oval in the centre, and our little note card. So really, really good way of using that extra designer series paper that you've got. And as I say, a lovely template just to use again and again and again. Okay, so that's this month. And I do have next month's to show you here somewhere. I'm sure I do. Do I? Yes, I do. No, that's not it. I promised you next month's, didn't I? Let's have a look. Okay, here they are. So next month is a fun fold in more than name only. 3 fun fold cards we'll be using. Some of you who do my Come Craft with me will recognise this double Dutch double barn door, Dutch double gatefold card. Somebody said to me the other day, it looks like a barn, so that's what's got in my head. So that one there, lovely sort of striking in the black and the sort of, what is it, pale papaya it is there. So that's a really lovely one, sort of quite stunning. Got this one here, which is, I think some people would call it a concertina card. It uses a whole half of a piece of designer series paper. Sits open like that. Lots of lovely designer series paper goodness there. So that one's really sweet with our daisy. And this one is, I think they call it a joy fold. I'm not really sure whether it was discovered by somebody called Joy maybe, or it just gives you joy. And this one opens up twice like this. So some lovely bright yellow and balmy blue colours in that one. The theme that runs through all 3 of these cards is that they're using the free designer series papers from Celebration that starts on the 4th of January. So these papers are just a little bit of a taster for the papers that you can get free when you order during January and February. So if you like those, please watch out. This one here with the farmyard is so cute. But anyway, so that's the 3 cards for next month's fun fold class. And as I say, they all 3 are fun folds. I've probably used my whole store of knowledge of fun folds for that. Okay, so thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this class, and I hope you will come back next month for more. Remember, I have my VIP club if you'd like to save on classes. If you find yourself doing them every month anyway, you might as well pay up front and save. So check my Facebook page or reach out if you'd like details of that. Okay, it's lovely to see you all. I will catch you all again next time.